So you can't have like a life, a schedule, anything like that. And worse, I felt like I was literally losing brain cells.
Welcome to the Troy Kearns Podcast. We talk all things real estate, business, and entrepreneurship. Today, we've got a businesswoman and an entrepreneur. We've got Isabel Guarino. Did I say that right?
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So Isabel, you are taking the world by storm here. You've got a lot of cool things going on social media. I wanted to bring you in and kind of talk about your story. Tell us where you started and where you're at currently right now.
Yeah. So about 10 years ago, I started working with my dad. I had graduated college. I had become a flight attendant and I was super bored, not using my brain, wanted to do something, more purposeful with my life. My dad had been a real estate investor for 40 years and he had sold everything at that point and went all in on residential assisted living. So
Wow.
when I saw what he was doing and I saw, why are you hanging out with old people? What's going on? I wanted to know more. And I just kind of started weaseling my way into his office, became his first employee. And over the last 8 years, we built the company, from one company to 5 companies, from me as his employee to almost 50 of us total.
Wow.
Yes, he passed in 2021. So I've been carrying on the torch since then. And it's been a lot of fun. And I'm really blessed to be able to show people how to cash flow like crazy, but also make an incredible impact in their community.
It's something that I'm pretty familiar with. My grandma was in an assisted living home. My aunt is currently in one. And I think it's kind of the wave of the future where people are not willing to take care of bring people in, right? They just can't do it. They can't afford to. They don't have the time to. Yeah. And you're now wanting to provide the best place for the people that you care about to get the most care.
Yes.
And so and on top of that, it's extremely profitable. So when you can help people and make an excellent income, that's a great thing. So your dad being a real estate investor, tell me about how you saw that as a young lady.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I talk to a lot of people who are like, they have the story of like The Rock, right? $7 in their pocket and now they're doing big. And it's like, oh, that's amazing. That's not my story at all. Like I grew up with an entrepreneurial father who was always owning and operating his own businesses. At age 18, he bought his first piece of real estate. So I grew up with that being very normal. After church, driving by and looking at properties or land to buy. And that's just part of life, right? That, hey, my dad owns that and that and that. And it didn't, in my mind as a child, it didn't equate to money or wealth or anything. They kept us very humble and, we drove used beat up cars and stuff like that. But I grew up knowing my dad doesn't have a boss. And if I need him right now, he'll shut off everything and come to me. And so it's that rich dad, poor dad mindset. I'm very blessed that I got to grow up with a dad who had the rich dad mindset, encouraged me to not go to college, but I had a full free ride. And so I was like, well, I'm going to take this. But he's like, you don't need it. Like, you don't need it. And so I had a very different, I think, upbringing in childhood than a lot of, traditional people have, where their parent works a corporate 9-to-5 job and they want them to work for the man and be a doctor, lawyer, or whatever it is. I definitely had my dad pushing the entrepreneurial spirit on me.
Well, it looks like it worked.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Well, hats off to him. I love that story. Are you guys from Arizona? You sound the name Guarino. I'm going to screw it up. Your last name sounds Italian.
Yes, we're Italian and we were all born in upstate New York. So we live in Phoenix now, but we're New Yorkers at heart for sure.
My wife is from Long Island and we spend a lot of time in New York. So that's awesome. I know that New York is a solstice, or it's from your soul, right? Like everything is better in New York. My wife always says that everything in New York is better.
There you go. I like it.
So, Isabel, so was this in New York that your father started his real estate career?
He did when he was young. That's what he was doing. And then when we moved to Phoenix, then he was also continued doing that his entire life until he passed. Yeah.
So when you went to college, you said that you got a full ride.
Yeah.
What did you get a full ride for?
I had great grades. I was in like the top 10% of my high school class. The thing is, I always say this with parents, like I had friends who got like paid for their grades, right? Like you get an A and we'll pay you and that incentivizes them. when I brought home straight A's, my parents would be like, cool. Like they didn't like care. And so it made me want to impress them even more and work even harder. And I think it was like this reverse psychology that when we were older, me and my siblings told them like, you not caring made us work really hard. And they were like, really? We weren't even trying. But all of us really have like such a passion to work hard. And if a project's there, it's like, give it 110. Go and if your best is an A, then do an A. If your best is a C, then do a C, but do whatever your limit of best is, basically.
So where did you go to college?
Arizona State University.
Okay. So were you the first person from your family to go to Arizona?
My sister went as well. I have an older sister, and so she went as well with a full ride as well. So all of us just crazy work hard, whatever it's in front of us.
You guys all moved down there because you guys got full rides to, was it ASU?
No, we had moved down there earlier. So we moved down probably when I was young, maybe like 6 years old. So I was pretty much raised in Phoenix.
Okay.
And so, yeah, but we all went there.
And so your dad's real estate journey continued in Arizona. And so now you're in the assisted living space. And how did he matriculate into that?
Well, my grandmother, she fell and broke her hip, and the doctor's like, she can't go home alone. She needs 24/7 care. Who's going to come take care of her? And she was in upstate New York. We were in Phoenix. We flew out there to go search for facilities for her. And I mean, they stunk as soon as you walked in, right? It was terrible. The food was bad. The care was bad. And they were full with waiting lists and ridiculously expensive. So we knew that there was something that needed to be done here. There had to be something better. And obviously there's a lot of older people in Arizona. So we kind of went back to Arizona to say, hey, is there something else here? Have they, cracked the code? And we stumbled into residential assisted living. And he did quick math and was like, wait, I'm going to pay $5,000 a month for her to live in this home, or I can own the real estate, own the business. She can live in it for free and I can cash flow $10,000 a month. I think I'm going to buy this. So zero experience, went in, bought the real estate, bought the business, and up and running from there. A ton of mistakes along the way because there was no one to teach and train him like we do now, right? But really learned through those errors and now own and operate 3 homes and invest in, I think, like over 50 across the country at this point, and have taught thousands how to own and operate their own as well.
So what is the core principles of what you teach that separates you from the bad actors that you mentioned previously before, the stinky, smelly, not caring houses out there?
Yeah, I think that really, and all those ones we visited were facilities. They weren't even homes. They were facilities. And because in upstate New York at the time, there was like little to no licensed RAL homes, residential homes. But the facilities, it's truly that caregiver to resident ratio. They'll typically have one caregiver who's overseeing like 20 or 30 residents. That's insane. One person can't take care of that many people. And in our homes, it's 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. Also, like a house should be a home, right? It's not home-like. It's an actual home. We grew up in a home. Why do I want to move to something that feels like a hospital just because I'm old, right? Long hallways and impersonal staff where I become just a number. That doesn't feel very good. So it's giving you that actual home environment where you have your own private bedroom and bathroom, but you're getting top quality care, better food, better attention, and all those things really make it so different, the facility experience versus individual RAL home experience.
That's awesome. I think that a lot of people can appreciate, especially the care. Like, you don't want to nobody's going to give you getting care. And especially when people are seniors and they're having Alzheimer's moments, forgetting things, you don't want to leave them to just somebody who's got 1 to 20 people that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you really are obviously passionate about that. I can tell that from the way you talk about it.
Yeah.
Your father passing and you taking over the family business.
Yeah.
Is that you obviously had a very close bond with him. How has that impacted the growth and your mission statement in your business, Isabel?
Yeah. I mean, wow. Like for 8 years, I was behind the scenes, just his right-hand gal. Anything he wanted or needed, that was my job, right? Completely building all of his ideas and bringing them to fruition. And then to go to like, okay, that's gone. And if you don't step up, everything shuts down. And really what hit me was like his homes, his 3 homes, cash flowing businesses, those passed seamlessly from him to me and my siblings. And so many entrepreneurs, if they passed right now today, their kids would be screwed. They would have no idea what handshake deal was made here, what document is that, well, who's paying when, what's going on. And so I felt like this calling in my heart, like how many entrepreneurs are literally going to leave burdens, not blessings, to their kids, where I can teach and train them to do something that not only cash flows now, provides a solution for their family if and when they need it, but also a legacy to carry on that can just be in their family, that's creating passive cash flow for the rest of their kids' lives and their kids' kids. And it just felt like I have to keep this going. I have to carry forward and do this. And so, you know, I stepped up and kind of helped take over from there. And it's been a blessing to be able to carry on my dad's legacy. And every day that I get to share about this, it just reminds me of him and what an impact he had on so many people. And that's really cool to be able to just continue to live in that.
Were you a daddy's girl?
Oh my goodness. My mom would say like, I would be like, stop being mean to my dad. Right.
It happens. Like I'm watching it happen at my house right now. My daughter's a daddy's girl and my son is a mama's boy. And it's just crazy, that whole psychology of it developing. You know, my daughter wants my attention, you know, and she's like, you know, I'm going to get your attention, daddy. She's always the one that says, I love you, daddy. My son is not going to do that as much. And so it's a really cool dynamic. I'm really touched by your story that you are leading. You're the patriarch or the matriarch of the family now by leading your father's legacy. And that's really, really cool. And a lot of people wouldn't feel that they could do that. And a lot of people would be intimidated by that. And the fact that you're doing it and then you're expanding on top of that speaks to your character. Yeah. I wanted to take a little bit of a dive. You said earlier you were an airline stewardess. And so that's a completely different world, you know? So what was that, like a traveling bug that got you up in there, or what drew you to that whole
I love to travel. And when I graduated college, I was like, I had like 2 degrees, 2 minors, had no idea what I wanted to do. And I got accepted for, I don't know if you've heard of Teach for America, but it's like a program where they get all sorts of different majors to go teach in inner city schools because they want you to go become a political advocate for the students. And so I was like, oh, I want to do this. And I did like a week of teaching and I was like, nope, not for me. Like, I love kids, but I don't want to do these lesson plans and, you know, deal with all the politics in school. No, thank you. Right. So I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I like to travel. I had a couple other friends who were flight attendants at the time. And I applied and got the job and was a flight attendant in DC for 2 years and in Phoenix for another 2 years. And it was a lot of fun, but you don't get paid well at all. You're basically
how much do you make?
Here's the thing. They'll tell you like you're starting at like 30 an hour or something, which you are, but that's only for fly time. So boarding, deplaning, and that whole time you've got to be there before and after, you're getting paid like $2 to $4 an hour for that. So it averages out to like minimum wage, like 10 to 15 bucks an hour. And you're gone for 3-4 days chunks at a time. And they're calling you to say, hey, be at the airport in 2 hours. So you can't have like a life, a schedule, anything like that. And worse, I felt like I was literally losing brain cells. I was like, I'm not having stimulating conversations with anyone. I would go to the library and get stacks of books because I'm like, I need to be reading something. I've got to feed my brain somehow. That was hard for me.
You know, and one thing that people don't know is that's a really tough job to get. Like it's a tough, thankless job. Like I know a lot of people who have tried to get that job and they have not been able to get that job. So there's a lot of applicants. Yeah. It's hard to get it. And then once you get it, you may not want it.
Yes. I think it's really fun if you're like retired or don't have kids, right? And it's like a good like young job or a good older job, like because you do get to travel and that's fun. And once you're in that city, depending on how long your layover is, you get to go like explore. And it did create a lot of independence in me. Like I got comfortable walking around downtown St. Louis by myself, right? And
Let's do it.
So I think that was fun. But other than that, not for me.
Yeah. So which airline did you work with?
US Airways, which is now American Airlines.
I remember when that happened. Yeah. Yeah. They originally were there. That's awesome. Okay. So you did that. And then you started right after that, you went to go work for your father.
Pretty much. Yeah. So I was just like, coming into his office whenever I'd hang out, like, hey, what are you doing? Just start listening to phone calls. Oh, I'll help with this. I'll help with that. And then eventually was like, hey, if you pay me this much, I'll quit. And he was like, no. And then like 6 months later, he's like, okay, I think I need an assistant. I'll do it. And I was like, okay.
So that was like your dream come true almost, right?
It was great. I mean, I never had ambition to work for him, and he never was like, you have to work in the family business. It was never like that. Matter of fact, he would always say to us, like, the day this is no longer serving you, the day you're unhappy, you tell me and I will remove you from this, and no harm, no foul. Like, you do not have to stay here if this isn't in alignment with you and your vision for life. And I thought that was really, really sweet, because when you are working with family, I've worked with cousins, uncles, all of my siblings, all of their partners, all sorts of people. It's difficult. Family business is difficult. There's amazing parts to it, but there's a lot of cons to it. And so having that grace is really, really amazing.
Yeah, he sounds like a cool guy, just very laid back, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. So now, kind of carrying the torch, you've started educating other people about how to start their own home living facilities?
Yes. So for the last 10 years, we have been teaching and training people on how to do this. So we show them how to find the homes, fund the homes, fill the homes. I know a lot of your listeners would be maybe interested in even doing a ground up build, because construction is their element. And we teach that as well. But it's really just how to get into this industry, hire your staff so that you can be hands off and get those residents in so you can start cash flowing, doing good and doing well.
Okay, let's go down that. So let's say I wanted to start a residential living facility. What would be my first step?
Demographics, right? Location. So we want to find out the demographics of the area. We want to be in an area where the average income is twice the median income. The average age is about 50 to 70. And it's typically like an upper middle class where they're homeowners. These are not the seniors moving into your home. This is the daughter, Judy. It's the adult child, right? The daughter of the senior, because they're usually the ones searching for the home and they want it to be 5 minutes away from them because they're often paying for the home. So we want to be near them, location, location, location.
Right. Okay. So I find the great location. What's step 2?
Finding out which of the 4 routes you want to go. So we talked about a ground up custom build. Typically in every state or county, there's going to be a maximum amount of residents allowed, usually somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in the home. If you're in a state where you're allowed to have 15 or 16 residents, it's going to be quite hard to find a single family home that has, 12 plus bedrooms. So you may want to buy land and build a custom home from the ground up. So that's one option. 2, get a single family home. And I don't mean a 3-2. I mean, probably like an 8-5, right? Where then you're adding an addition or converting it to become whatever you need, right? Typically like 300 to 500 square feet per resident is comfortable. So with 10 residents, minimum 3,000 square feet. 3rd, you could lease a home to use for this. So if you want to partner with someone who's already got the home retrofit, they've added fire suppression, sprinklers, and ramps, guardrails, whatever you may need, you can lease a home for this. Or 4, you could buy an existing home. So buy a residential assisted living home. You're buying the real estate and the business. So you're up and running, cash flowing right away. So deciding which of those 4 routes you want to go is going to be your next step.
Awesome. So what do I need to run this business? I know that there's a lot of care that goes into these people. Do I got to hire doctors? What kind of staff do I need?
Yeah. So you're going to hire a licensed administrator. And in real estate terms, that's kind of like our property manager. So they're going to be overseeing the hiring and firing of your caregivers, of your chefs, of your other independent contractors. They're also going to be marketing and touring with the families and doing the resident intake. So they'll be helping you with your staff side of it and your resident side of it, as well as keeping your policies and procedures up to date. Their license is hung on the wall. So when the state comes by to do checks, they're the ones responsible for making sure everything's, in alignment and good to go. So that administrator is number 1. Caregiver caregivers is your next big hire, hiring quality licensed caregivers, and then any other independent contractors you may need. A chef, a maintenance guy, a handyman, just to be on call if and when you need them. Typically, you do not need to have a doctor or a nurse. Some states do require that a nurse passes the pills or is on call. And so if that is the case in your state, then sometimes people will just get a nurse who comes by and sets out the pills, and it is what it is. It's a quick 1 hour a day type thing, but it's not like a full-time nurse who's there all the time, doctors, gurneys, IVs, nothing like that.
Copy that. So that sounds like, completely different than the normal real estate, but I'm imagining the profits are exactly very high for doing all of that risk, right? You're taking more risk, you're going to get more reward. So if I have what am I expected? How do I measure my profits in that business, or how do I project my profits?
Yeah. So the national average to live in an assisted living home right now in our country today is like $4,500 a month per person.
Okay.
If you're in Oklahoma, your average might be $2,500. If you're in Washington, D.C., it might be $7,000, right? But nationally, it's $4,500. And then you're allowed to have somewhere between 6 and 16, like we talked about. So we'll use 10 for easy math. That's bringing us in $45,000 of monthly gross income. You might have $30,000 in expenses, including your staff, your food, your electricity, your cable, your liability insurance, property tax, all that good stuff. And in most parts of the country, you can still get a pretty nice home for $5,000 a month. That's leaving you, the owner, with $10,000 of monthly net income or $120,000 of annual net income. And that's very average numbers, right? Typically, the average homes, we wouldn't want to leave our goldfish, let alone our grandma. So you're usually doing something above average. A lot of times I'm seeing students who have rates between $5,000 and $9,000 a month per resident. That's a lot more common, but it just depends on the care needs of the senior and where the home's located.
Yeah, my sister actually was a director for a large company in Washington State who specializes in this and has hundreds, if not thousands, of residences. So I know that this business can scale very big. Did you ever want to invest in real estate? Did you ever want to live the life of your dreams? Did you want financial freedom? Did you want to break the generational curse? Did you want to help your parents out? Did you want to help your mom out? Maybe you work for a job that you don't like. They say there's only one reason to work a job, and that's to learn, right? If you're not learning at your job, you're just going through the motions, right? We have a free Facebook group, the Millionaire Mentorship Facebook group for real estate investing. Make sure you join. The link is in the description. If you want to schedule a free call with me and my team and you actually want to start, I would suggest you do so. We have helped hundreds of people change their lives, and all they had to do was get started. They booked a call with me and my team, and they got the ball rolling. And I'm so confident that if you don't get your first or next investment property within the first 90 days, you don't pay, and I'll give you $1,000 cash. That's how confident I am. Obviously, you got to take action. You can't just do nothing and expect that to happen, but that's life. Life's all about taking action. Make sure you give this podcast a 5-star review, share it with a friend, and take action. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for people getting into this space? Obviously, getting your first one is the first most important thing that you could do. But after that, let's say I get my first one, I've scaled it, I'm making $10,000 a month, I'm pumped up, I want to scale. I talk to Isabel. What do you tell me to do next?
Minimum, I want you to have at least 3 homes within 20 minutes of each other. Okay. You're going to be able to share your staff a lot better, right? If they're too far, the staff can't drive, right? Caregivers are typically paid $1 or $2 above minimum wage. So these aren't highly paid people who are driving around Mercedes-Benz. They might be taking the bus to work or getting dropped off because they're sharing a car or a situation like that. So 20 minutes from each other, those 3 homes. Your caregivers are typically working 10 or 12-hour shifts. So they might be like a nurse who's on 3, off 4 or something. If you only have 1 home, that means they're working for you 3 or 4 days a week and Joe Schmo down the road 3 or 4 days a week. But if you have multiple homes, they're working for you over here and you over here. You're not paying overtime and they get to stay in the same work culture and environment. So 3 homes is good. And also I like to say that those homes should be kind of different levels, right? We talk about levels in our training, like a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 being the nicest, 1 being like leaving grandma in the ghetto, right? We're not doing that. But if you have a level 3, a level 4, and a level 5, if someone visits your level 5 home and then they say, I love it, but we really can't afford this. Do you have anything else? Yep. And now you can bump them down the ladder and show them the other options, or vice versa. Hey, they come to the level 3, but I'm really looking for something in this area. Okay, we have that flexibility. So 3 homes, 20 minutes of each other, different levels, that kind of gives you the variety and really helps you with your staffing.
Okay, awesome. So if I'm trying to go past that, like get into become a major player in the space, and I want to go and I want to open up like a facility, is that something that you guys get into as well?
Nope, it's the antithesis of who we are.
Good. Well, I just was curious. Yeah, because that's where you kind of lose some of the touch, some of the intimacy, right? So what is that sweet spot for the people that you are trying to connect with? Not the antithesis, but the exact person that you're trying to attract.
Yeah, so we focus only on residential homes, so not commercial properties at all. So all residential homes in residential neighborhoods. So we're typically, the people who come to us who want to do this, they're already maybe single family home investors, or they've been looking at other similar concepts, Airbnb, or, single family rental, student housing, things of that nature. But I mean, 130 unit, even 40 unit apartment, we could be cash flowing more in our one home than a 30 or 40 unit apartment. So I get a lot of multifamily guys too, who say, this is so much work with so much turnover. And, these properties are being destroyed. And now I can have one home that cash flows more. So it's about having the heart, but also, having the right expectations. Those large facilities, you really, really lose the quality touch with the seniors. They become a lot more about the numbers and the margins than they do about the heart of this. And so it's that balance of doing good and doing well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can understand why you don't want to be that at all. I like it. Yeah, you mentioned it being better than apartment buildings. Yeah, that's for sure. I've got a 32 unit apartment building, and $10,000 a month is about what we take home, and it's a lot more risk, a lot more turnover, a lot of everything like that. And that's on a good month. And there's a lot more risk to it. So I can see, and it's a lot less expensive to get into just having a home. Besides, obviously, fire suppression systems and stuff can be pretty expensive. I did have one question. You mentioned Airbnb, and I wanted to kind of be a devil's advocate a little bit.
Yeah.
So Airbnb, me personally, I've been affected with the restriction of the cities and stuff. Do you see that going into your world as these other bigger companies start to lobby to try to crush the little guy? Have you noticed like regulations and stuff come along that have been scary for you as a entrepreneur?
We did create the RAL National Association, which represents all 30,000 of these care homes across the country, because there was no legal representation for us. There was only associations or groups for the larger communities and facilities. So what has happened with Airbnb, I'm not saying it could never happen with RAL, but it's very different in the sense that Airbnb at least had one big name that they could go after. We don't have one big name. These are all individual owners. 80% of this industry is run by immigrants from other countries, and they may own 1, 2 homes. So some of our students own 10 homes, 26 homes, 12 homes, right? But nobody really owns like 4,000 homes, or there's not one big Airbnb type name. So I think, unfortunately, the pro of Airbnb is that name helps you. The con of it is it screwed you all. And with us, we don't have that collective name. We have now lobbying power. So when a bill comes up, we go and we fight it, but it's not nearly as prevalent as the Airbnb name.
That's such smart wisdom coming from, I don't know if a lot of people are going to pick up on that, but I've found out very recently in life that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you're not aligned politically, if you're not set up with the right people, you will be out of business very, very quickly. It's happening in Kansas City right now with Airbnbs. It happened in Las Vegas. It happened in New Orleans. And you guys taking the front end approach of starting an association is such a smart move. I hope that a lot of people understand, like, aligning with your competitors and being friends to preserve both of your guys' industry is like genius. And Isabel's very smart to know that early on in her career. I see you doing big things. That's why I'm saying early on, not that you're a novice or anything like that. I just see you going to the top. The fact that you already said that. You also mentioned something else that I knew and I was going to bring up, but I didn't want to like sound like uninformed, I guess. But every facility that I've been to that my grandma has been immigrants that have started their own facility. And you touched on that. Tell me why people are attracted to that are coming from other countries.
Honestly, I don't know that there's like a textbook answer besides to say that I feel like they're taught in their culture and society to care for their elderly and respect and love the seniors in their lives a lot more than unfortunately Americans are. You know, we're not necessarily taught how much wisdom and especially with technology nowadays, like even our parents, right? They would ask people before them, what does this look like? How did this happen? Right. I don't have to ask anyone anything now. I've got Google, right? So it's like, what is the point of old age wisdom when it's all here right in front of me? Now it becomes obsolete. That's sad, right? And so I think that our society is growing up thinking like, no, I actually know better because I know how to use these resources to get things, especially Chat GPT. Are you kidding me? That's insane, right? Literally, you can write a book in 3 days, right? And it's just like crazy. Yeah. So I think the respect level is so different in other countries than it is in America.
Yeah, and technology would never lie to you. They would never mislead you or tell you anything wrong. So I think it's super smart to ask people who are older than you. I'm sure there's a lot of wisdom going around the facilities or the residential homes that you guys care for. Yeah. What are some of your biggest success stories, Isabel?
You know, I think anytime, every Thursday, our team gets together because we have a whole team of coaches who works with our students, and they kind of shout out where people are along on their journey and like, hey, this one's struggling. Let's all get beside them and make sure they're doing good. And just today, we heard a story of a 22-year-old kid who came to our class. He was a travel nurse during COVID. He came to class. He's like, I want to do something different. And he just opened his first 15-bed home in Wisconsin. And so We're so proud of him. And it was just like 22 years old, and you're going to be it's a 15-bed. So those usually cash flow more at like 20 or 30 grand a month. So it's like, you're going to be doing just these crazy numbers. It's like, that's just amazing. I love hearing stories of people who just get it, do it, make it happen. And then they come back to say, look, I won, like I'm here. And so that was really fun today.
And plus, that makes a lot of sense. Like somebody like that could actually work in the facility, right?
If he wants to, yeah.
But if you're looking to, like, if you're brand new and you're like, I'm in nursing and I want to switch my career and I want to start investing into real estate and I don't have all the money to hire the staff, I can actually put my sweat equity in as an actual owner as I'm scaling my residential living business. That's awesome.
Yeah. And there's a lot of great partnerships between nurses and someone who is more of a real estate professional. So we have a lot of husband-wife teams who come where he's in construction, she's a nurse, right? And then they decide to do this business together. And it's so fun to see that because it's like, man, you guys have the best of both worlds for our specific venture because you have that knowledge on both sides of this.
Where do you see this business going in the future? And where do you see yourself going in the future?
Oh, man. Well, currently, right, the silent generation lives in assisted living. There's like 47 million of them, I think. And there's 76 million baby boomers. And they're still like 10, 20 years out from needing, home care and assistance. And we are currently 1.3 million beds short. So wow. With almost doubling the amount of people who are going to need care, we're already short. The cost of care goes up or has gone up 79% over the last 10 years. This is what we call the silver tsunami. Like it's coming and we can't stop it. Wow. There is so much opportunity no matter how you want to get involved. building these types of facilities, just owning the real estate, just owning the business, doing both, or JV partnering, just lending to someone who's going to do this. Somehow, some way, everybody should take their piece of the pie, because people say the greatest transfer of wealth is going to go from boomers to Gen X or millennials. No, it's not. Not when the average cost of care is going up that much and you're going to need 3.5 years on average of care. It's taking a pit stop at assisted living, and whatever's left will go to the rest. And so to me, it's like just an amazing opportunity to provide quality care, especially for cities, states, counties that don't have a ton of options. And there's really a huge, massive opportunity here. It's like seeing a crystal ball if we were back in 2008. That's what I feel every day. It's like I can see the future. It's right in front of us. And to not take advantage of it is just one of those things you're going to look back and say, dang, I heard that once and I slept on it. And it's just like, that's on you.
Yeah, 100%. I think that people need to recognize when opportunity and timing meet each other. Based on that, do you see that there's some states that are better places to go than other states, or is it just kind of needed, nationwide?
I love that question. It's definitely needed everywhere, but there are certain states where it's, quote, easier, right? So maybe like in Arizona, Florida, Texas, where a lot of these homes already exist and the rules are very clearly written out. And so it's more like follow the recipe. Right. Now, that's a pro to doing it in those states, but the con is in one county here in Arizona, there's over 3,000 care homes. So I have way more competition than our student who was out in Rhode Island, who created the first home in the entire state of Rhode Island.
Wow.
They had no rules and regs to follow. They had to ask their state, like, hey, can I do this? Can I show you how to do this? Can I help write the rules? But now they've got a waiting list out the door and the state's begging them to open more. Wow. So there's pros and cons. If you're willing to jump through more hoops up front, you're going to have a much easier ride later. If you want an easy ride now, and then it's like, okay, but now you're going to have to work hard to maintain that marketing and keep it full at all times, because every day a new home's popping up and they're probably better than you. So how do you build that brand and reputation to last a lifetime?
How does that make you feel when, like, you get a student that, all of a sudden calls you and says, I'm the first freaking place in Rhode Island, and the reason I'm here is because of you, Isabel? How does that make you feel?
Oh my God, cringe. I'm like, so like, but it's wonderful. It's so amazing. We're so proud of all of our students who go out and make this happen, because there is such a need. You can't deny the need. We can all see it everywhere. And the reality is, everyone's going to get involved in assisted living one way or another. Either you're going to be lying in the bed or writing the check for someone who is, or you could be owning the real estate or owning the business, cash flowing, and having a place for your loved one to live. So I prefer to have people who choose the latter than the first option. And it's so exciting when our students do it. But I don't like to take any credit. I just want to be a small part of their journey to exposing them to an incredible industry that really changes people's lives.
With all that said, how would someone get involved with you if they wanted to start that journey?
Yeah, we've got a ton of free resources online at ral101.com. And we're on all the social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, at RAL Academy.
Awesome. So how do you balance the social media, the business, your family, all of that? How do you deal with it all?
Great question. Personally, I just, one of my superpower skills is like organization. I am just hyper organized, and I do my, big to-do list, but then it's like, what are your top priorities? If you did these today would be a win. And that's what I'm going to focus on. If I knock the other ones out of the park, amazing. And then second, I would say delegate and elevate. If you find yourself as an entrepreneur doing something that somebody else could do for cheaper, easier, faster, better than you, then delegate it. Get rid of it. Only focus on the things that you have to put your special touch on.
You're so smart, Isabel. I cannot tell you, that's great words. And especially from somebody who's just like spewing it out, like one trick after the other, just like, because a lot of times even myself as an entrepreneur and somebody who catches themselves doing things that I should not be doing, it is tough to break those habits.
Yeah.
Like as you go in, like I'll give you an example. The other day, I'm like, I'm going to go seed my yard. I got 11 acres. Totally a waste of my time. Should not be doing it. My wife's constantly yelling at me, what are you doing? Your time is worth so much money. I'm like, I just want to show my kids that I can do all this cool stuff. Finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go and hire someone to do this. And it's actually cheaper than me doing it that way. And it's actually more efficient. They're going to do a better job. And what the hell was I even thinking in the first place? But I think for you to recognize that, and I can tell that you're super organized just by looking at your background, everything's just like perfect order. And I was talking to my wife actually about that exact same thing. She is highly, highly organized. I am not as highly organized. We'll just put it that way. And we were talking, she's like, do you think that you'd be more efficient if you were more organized? I go, I don't know, because it's like, if you look at like your Gmail, and I'm like, I can't organize Gmail. It's going to take me all freaking day. I would rather search from stuff, but I would rather have people behind me that are highly organized. And I've recognized that since day one.
Yeah.
So with that, do you try to surround yourself with other people? Because your strength is organization and you lean into that. Where do you rely on others to help you where you may not have as big of a strength?
Yeah, I think probably every quarter I do like a little quadrant method, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but the first box is like things you love and you feel you're good at. The next one is like things you love, but you're not so good at. And then the bottom left box is like, things that, you're not so good at and you don't really like. And then the last one's like things you suck at and you hate, right? And then it's Yes. Right. And it's everything below that line, go give it to someone else. And so every quarter I'll go through and just like take, a day or something and just try every like 20 minutes to write down, like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? And then also it keeps you on your toes. Like, oh, why am I responding to Instagram comments all day? Like, that's such a waste of my time. Right.
100%. And your head.
Yes. And so really, if you can just live in that one top box, what you love and what you're good at, because there's a lot of things I love, but I'm not so good at, right? I love writing and I'll write emails and then I go to send them and the team's like, you totally messed that up. You sent it to all the wrong people and you did. And I'm like, but I loved it. Right. And so it's like, just get rid of everything that's not in that box and your life will be so much easier. And also someone told me one time, they're like, you are stealing someone else's like life goal, their life job, because someone else that is in their number 1A box. Yeah. And when you do it, you just took it from them. And so now I just like relinquished all of my things that are in those boxes. And it's not something you do once and then, okay, I hired that out, I'm good. You kind of have to continuously do it and then just say, hey, is there anybody who could take this off my plate? Because it's really taking up a ton of my time when I need to be focusing on this. And there's people probably on your team or in your world who will be like, I actually would love to do that. I've been waiting for you to ask me.
Right. That's awesome. Where did you learn the 4 quadrant? I've heard that from another person that I hired to actually organize my company and help me out with stuff. So I'm interested to know where you heard that from.
I don't even know where.
Oh, that's good.
I'm in like 5 masterminds and I read business books all the time. And I like hear so much stuff. And I have a podcast, the Young Boss podcast, which is like entrepreneurialism for younger people. And there's so many things like that I've just heard over the years and it's just in the brain, but I have no idea who or where it's from. So I apologize for who needs credit for it.
Yeah, that's all good. No, I think the information is more important than the credit. So just to kind of like wrap some things up, I did want to know, like, what are your future plans? You're in 5 masterminds. I would love to know what they are. You seem like you're all over it. What are your future plans? Where do you see yourself in the next 5-10 years?
I would love to continue just growing this business and all of our businesses that have to do with RAL even more, because every day we're seeing more and more people get excited about this industry and want to get involved in it. So I just want to see great growth in that. And then continuously building products and services that serve the people in that industry. So whether it's, different programs to make their day-to-day life easier, that's what I want to focus my efforts on. On the personal side, like I mentioned, the podcast, I really found out right over the last couple of years that I have a huge heart for entrepreneurialism and sharing that with other people. I'm really blessed that I've been able to be surrounded by an amazing group of older people who've given me so much wisdom on business and life. And being that first hire for my dad, I got to work in every single role in our company, right? Marketing, finance, sales, right? Back of house sales, operations, event planning, HR, you name it, I did it. So when I went to hire a person for that, I knew exactly what the role was because I was just doing it. And so I think that's a really cool and unique experience is I haven't always been sitting in the top box. I've sat in every seat. And so I love to be able to share with, other people, especially young people who want to start their own thing, like just all these different perspectives and tips to make things go faster, easier, and better for them.
Well, I know your dad's very proud of you, as he should be. That's awesome that you're carrying along his dream and now it's your dream. And that is so cool and so motivating to see you just grasp it, pick it up, and then make it better and make it and teach other people how to do it at the same time. And I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I think it's very inspirational. And I think one thing that you said that I don't think people will grasp is that you said like, well, I kind of grew up like with this stuff, but you've earned everything. Somebody who goes and like takes a job at the airlines and does this and gets a full ride, you're a hard worker. You're not just somebody. I think when you said that, it almost takes away from everything that you have accomplished. Yeah. And I want to let you know that like I can read people pretty well, and you're a hard working lady that deserves every single thing that's on your plate and more. And so don't let any, buddy tell you any otherwise. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, guys, make sure you give us a 5-star review. I appreciate you, Isabel. They can find you on all the socials by searching. What is the name of your podcast? One more time, Young Boss?
Young Boss Podcast. Yep.
Young Boss Podcast. I appreciate you coming on as a guest. We'll talk to you on the next one. Peace. Have you ever wanted to start investing in real estate, but you just don't have the time? You don't have the ability to get started, but you got the capital, right? And you want all of the advantages that the capital offers you. Well, I started a fund and you can invest with me and my team. In fact, I'm in one of the buildings that I bought using my own money, but you could invest and actually get the benefits of investing with me and my team. Well, you got to be an accredited investor. And you've got to go to our website. I'll include the link in our bio, and you could start investing with us. It's super cool. We're going to do a lot of cool projects in Kansas City and around the country, and you'll be able to be a part of it. Make sure you give this podcast a 5-star review, share it with a friend, and take action.